Well, let's return to our top story now, and that, of course, is the flooding in Libya. More than 5,000 people are now feared dead and thousands of others remain missing. Well, we can now go live to Beirut and speak to our Middle East correspondent, Lina Sinjab, who is watching developments from there. Lina, the death toll appears to be climbing. Now 5,000 feared dead, and it's predicted it's just going to get worse.
Definitely. Unfortunately, the situation is really devastating in the port of Derna. I mean, people are just counting the dead, waiting to retrieve bodies from the sea. Most parts of Derna have been enveloped by water along with its residents. So there is a huge concern that the death toll is going to only rise. And the problem is the flooding, the storm, it caused huge damage to infrastructure. Roads are destroyed. So aid and medics and support is going to be challenging to arrive in time for the rescue operation. The locals there are working hard around the clock to find their relatives, to retrieve bodies from the sea, but it's going to be a really difficult situation for them.
And tell us more about Derna, which is where much of the fatalities so far have been reported.
So basically, Derna lies 250 kilometers away, 250,000 kilometers away from the city of Benghazi, and it's surrounded by the mount, the Green Mount, and when the storm happened, apparently one of the big dams on top of the hill collapsed, and the flooding caused another collapse of another dam, and bridges destroyed, road destroyed. So if you look at pictures, satellite pictures of before and after the storm, most of the city of Derna basically disappeared. It was washed with water, and the situation in Libya is not great in terms of infrastructure and health system. It's been damaged and crumbling over the past decade because of the conflict between two rival parties, one leading the east side and one leading the west side. But at this time of this crisis, this national crisis, I think everyone wants to get along to provide aid and help that is needed. The problem is the infrastructure is not helping a speedy operation to rescue.
You talked about these rival factions and this conflict that, of course, we've reported on over the years in Libya. How much will these rival governments come together, though, to actually ensure that people get the help they need?
Well, we've already heard from the internationally recognized government in Western Libya that they've called on the area as an area in a disaster zone that needs international help. That they already mobilized all and ready to mobilize all their capacities and personnel for the help needed. I mean, the government in the eastern side, in the devastated area, are also saying that we need to step in, we'll provide aid. But the problem is the logistics. This is not an easy or a small-scale catastrophe. It's a large one that, the country has never witnessed before. It's a natural catastrophe as well as like a human one with a dam collapsing. So it needs international effort. Right now, the International Red Cross Federation is on the ground, but I think, in the coming hours and days, the city and the area will need more and more help from around the world to come in.
Lina Sinjab in Beirut, thank you very much for the moment. Well, Lina was mentioning the Red Cross. Well, Caroline Holt is the Global Director for Operations at the International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent. She says putting a number on casualties will be incredibly difficult.
This is a huge disaster, and this would have overwhelmed many nations had it happened. The unprecedented levels of rain that were received, plus these weaknesses in infrastructure that we've seen that have really created this disaster, are huge. The numbers will unfortunately, no doubt, the number of dead will no doubt go up during the course of today as the picture starts to become clear and the floodwaters start to recede. But it's very difficult to put a final number on those dead, on those missing. We don't know how many people would have moved far away from this scene in order to make themselves safe. And it would have necessitated a journey of a long way in order to make one safe in this scenario because of the extent of the floodwater. But it's really unclear right now. I think we know those numbers are between 2,000 and 5,000 dead. And you can just see that it must be a very difficult situation to quantify correctly.